First off, a broader view of mobile and its opportunities for you to reach and impact your customers and your prospects. Secondly, through this section, you'll have a leg up on other marketers who frankly have been slow or unwilling to adapt in changing times. And third, I see an opportunity for you to have new career possibilities with your newfound knowledge of mobile marketing and the morphing consumer. Now, I know that you're here for a reason, because you know that the mobile phone has changed the way we live and conduct marketing. But we're not just talking about any device. We're talking about the most personal one, the mobile device. And we as brand marketers want in on the action. Will consumers really let us in? Or to say it another way, if two is company, does three necessarily create a crowd? Or could we instead make it easier for the mobile user by providing value, maybe in the form of just the right offer or information at just the opportune moment? Now, even if a consumer gives us an opening to their mobile lives, how are we as brands supposed to operate? With baby steps? Or maybe by taking some sort of permission as a license to put up our feet on their furniture and stay all night? And what about these ever-increasing consumer expectations? For gosh sakes, I've never ever had a meatball sandwich from your quick service restaurant. But you, Mr. or Mrs. Marketer, know or should know from my purchase history that my diet is vegetarian. So why am I still getting those meatball sandwich ads? And what about the customer journey? If I'm looking at an Armani tie tonight online, should you target me tomorrow when I'm near or in a Nordstrom? Or is that personal, or is something that's just plain creepy? And what about the ever-increasing self-sufficient mobile shopper, pushing to examine the very definition of customer service? So we're here to talk about what's the role of today's marketer, and can we be replaced by machines? But first, I'd like to give you a level set. More people on Earth have a mobile phone than a toothbrush or a toilet. Wireless penetration in the United States alone exceeds 100%, meaning that there's more than one mobile phone for every person from coast to coast. The cell phone has changed the way we communicate or don't communicate, buy, share, deposit a check, and gauge our health, among tens of other things that will never be the same. In developing countries, the mobile phone is literally a lifeline, leading to cleaner water, more diagnosis and treatment of disease, and banking for the unbanked. So this all means what? As marketers, if we fail to adapt to the upheaval, our customers and prospects will be someone else's customers and prospects. I hear to say the early scorecard on our efforts largely shows that we're behind. Now, why do I say that? The trouble is that when it comes to the expectations of the mobile user, they're sophisticated and deserve more credit than we give them. And those who carry these devices are picking sides. So let's get working on meeting and beating those expectations. Now, mobile also is a key ingredient. It benefits other digital marketing and traditional media. And with mobile, what we need to do is follow the money and follow the eyeballs. So let's define what mobile marketing is. I always defer to the Mobile Marketing Association's definition of mobile marketing. Now, mobile marketing is a set of practices that enables organizations to communicate with their audience in an interactive and relevant manner through any mobile device or network. Now, that sounds like it came right out of academia, so let me break it down a little bit for you. The key words in that phrase are interactive and relevant. Now, first off, interactive. We know that mobile users have their phone next to them nearly 24 hours a day. They use their phone in multitasking while they're watching television, while they're on their computer, they're checking Facebook, they're responding to a text message. So there is an interactivity that we've never seen pre-mobile era. Also, the second word that's critically important is the word relevant. Nothing, as I mentioned earlier, is more personal than a mobile device. And my mobile device, while the same model as my wife's mobile device, is entirely different. I have different interests, I have different apps, I go to different sites, and what marketers need to do is to identify and respond to those individual mobile needs so we can provide personal and relevant and contextual experiences. Now, the Mobile Marketing Association further says mobile marketing includes activities, institutions, processes, industry players, standards, advertising and media, direct response, promotions, relationship management, CRM, customer services, loyalty, social marketing, and all facets of marketing. Now, as we were about, I would want to say 10 to 12 years into really the mobile marketing era, we are seeing some significant mileposts or changes when it comes to what's happening out there. We're seeing the most sophisticated brands get way beyond having just mobile departments or having direct departments. What they're doing is they're knocking down walls, and everybody is mobile. As the Googles of the world and the Lowe's home improvement companies and Coca-Cola, the job of mobile is everybody's job. Now, mobile is a key ingredient. How do you measure it? And there are two different ways to engage mobile users. There's the pull, where a user responds to a call to action that might be on a piece of marketing material. It might be a push message that you send to them, or a pull is really how a consumer is going to take his or her own decision-making process and saying, okay, I want to interact with a brand. Now, this is opposed to a push message, or a push notification is one execution of that, where a marketer sends out information to somebody. And as we walk through this course, we'll talk about how to use things like push notifications. Do you need permission or don't you need permission? Do people need to opt in? And so forth. Now, mobile is a key ingredient. There are three functions of mobile marketing. I believe that there are three key things that we can do. We can delight mobile users, we can engage with mobile users, and the most important thing is that we can sell. Now, the first three words of my book, Mobilize Marketing, had the words sell more beer. And they told the story of the head of digital at Miller Coors, who has the same job that everybody in his position had for the last 157 years before him. He needs to sell more stuff. So my position is that the job of the marketer has remained entirely constant, even in this upheaval of mobile marketing. The what is the same. We still need to sell stuff. It's that how that's changed. So mobile marketing is permission-based targeting, where a user responds to a call to actions. Now, these call to actions, when I first started in mobile back in around 2007, 2006, I had heard about a campaign where a candy bar manufacturer had asked consumers to respond to something on the packaging. Now, the problem was that the call to action was inside the candy bar wrapper. And I don't know if you're like me, I assume that you are. When we want when we're that hungry that we want that candy bar, we're not going to open up the wrapper rather gingerly. We're not going to look inside and see if the marketer or the maker of the candy is going to ask us to do something. So we've now way more sophisticated. Calls to actions are more widespread. They're looked for in a lot of cases by mobile users, and they're responded to. And through the course of our teaching. Now, what mobile marketing isn't, it's not a license to spam. We'll talk about the rules and regulations that are quite prevalent globally that were set up by organizations like the Mobile Marketing Association, and then some guidelines by the IAB and other groups. But the rules and regulations have been established by the carriers, by CTIA, by the global mobile organizations and other marketers. There are, as I mentioned, some differences region to region and country to country, and we're going to devote a whole section to those so you'll be up to speed on them. Now, mobile marketing and mobile advertising are not interchangeable. And just like pre-mobile, think of advertising as being a subset of marketing. Now, I like to think of it as that advertising is a single contact, where marketing is an ongoing relationship. Now, oftentimes these work together, and the savvy marketers might use advertising as the door opener. And then marketing techniques, the ability to engage with folks and ask people in a lot of cases for permission to create this ongoing relationship. Now, as I mentioned, mobile marketing provides several opportunities. We can sell product, we can engage, and when we talk about apps in this course, we'll talk about the importance not only of getting people to download an app or acquisition, but we'll talk about the ever more important function of engagement and how do we do that. Also, mobile marketing is a great place or a great way to inform. You might tell folks that there's a sale going on in your store, or you might inform them that they need to get to the polls if you're a candidate. You might inform them of where people are gathering if you're having a concert, and what time to get there and things like that. And then also mobile marketing gives you an opportunity to build brand loyalty. And as I mentioned and also wrote about extensively in my second book called The Art of Mobile Persuasion, we have the opportunity to build brand loyalty. And we also conversely have the opportunity to really blow it. By providing bad experiences, the statistics show that the great majority of mobile users will leave and never come back. But conversely, those of us who are smart have the opportunity to build brand loyalty and really have a customer for the foreseeable future and hopefully for life. Now, mobile has a key role in the marketing mix. There was a time when we were fighting for a seat at the table. There are still some lagging organizations that have that same environment now. But mobile really has earned this place in the mix because of its demonstrated ROI. It's made passive activities interactive. It's made existing investments more effective and more measurable. And mobile has some really key strengths and key differentiators. And these include the opportunity to incorporate time, location, context, and interest like we never have before, and to create these relevant and personal experiences, and to go where the mobile user is, which more and more is on a mobile device. Now let's talk about specifically how a mobile phone has given us the opportunity to turn passive activities into interactive ones. Well, one example is television. Television has become interactive with mobile. We've seen voting that became very popular in the US and then actually globally with American Idol and shows like that, where people were able to use their phone to vote for their favorite contestant. We're seeing great examples of the opportunity to purchase. So there are shows that might show some new product or new fashion and giving a mobile user the chance to go right on their phone and purchase. And then we're seeing some great examples of opportunities to learn more. Now, a lot of times the story can't be told sufficiently in a 30-second commercial. So what the smart mobile marketers are doing, or the marketers in general are doing, are driving mobile users to their phones to learn more, maybe to see an automobile on the road, maybe to personalize the experience so they can see what they might look like behind the wheel, look at various colors and things like that. Also, retail shopping has become interactive with mobile. As we'll talk about a lot, I'm sure, in this course, you can do several things in the retail environment that you couldn't do before. We'll talk about Macy's and its Backstage Pass program, which provides a variety of ways for a mobile user to interact with the store and with its call to actions. And these include things like texting in for a link, scanning a QR code, driving people to a mobile website, and receiving either a text message or a mobile an MMS message, which is a multimedia message. And we'll explain that in a lot of detail when we get into the messaging section of this curriculum. Now also, as I suggested, mobile makes existing efforts work harder and become more measurable. Now you can put these call to actions on existing materials to produce leads, to measure which approaches are more effective, and to generate real-time results. Now an example of that is what you can do is have a platform and have the ability to look in a dashboard at real-time campaigns running. And what you could do is you can determine if you want to move the dials a bit. Do you want to, an example is, I remember there was a campaign in Times Square around the release of a Batman DVD, and the brand looked in on the dashboard and saw how the interaction with the street team members was going so well that it extended the life of the campaign by an additional couple of hours. And we can do that in real time, and we still do postmortems, but postmortems have an entirely different and less important role in mobile, I believe, because we have the ability, like never before, to impact results in real time. Now, we also can make ineffective campaigns be altered or mixed, and a example of that is I'm familiar with a coffee house that had done a call to action through radio, and it did not get the desired foot traffic. So what they did is they recut the spot, they changed the copy, they made it stronger, and before the flight was over, they were able to impact the results and get the traffic that they were hoping for. Now, mobile also adds location, time, and context. So we're now more aware of a consumer's needs in real time. There's technologies we'll get into specifically around location and the ability to know where somebody is by maybe tracking their device or having them opt in to be sent notifications when they're in a particular location. Customers or consumers' motivations change with time and location. Just think about it. If somebody is in Times Square at 11 in the morning, they have an entirely different mindset than they might at 11 o'clock at night. They're likely earlier in the day looking for food, looking to find an activity to do that might maybe outside, or maybe take in a matinee. And then in the evening, they might be looking for the latest club or where their favorite band or jazz club might be. So entirely different motivations that you can react to depending on day parts, among other things. Also, mobile makes our campaigns time and location sensitive. We can capitalize on things like even the weather. And we can say, okay, if we know that we are trying to move smoothies or trying to move cold drinks, we can create a campaign that's going to set to fire when the temperature hits 72 degrees, for instance. Now, mobile and radio. When I first got into mobile, I worked for a company called Hip Cricket, and we were primarily doing campaigns with radio stations, some of the largest ones in the world, Clear Channel, which is now iHeartMedia, among others. And mobile was able to revitalize what had become a rather stagnant industry. But what mobile did is it provided a large customer base, and the audience was interacting with stations or had the chance to interact with stations in a way different way. So radio used mobile and continues to use mobile in two different ways. First off, to increase time spent listening, which in that industry is absolutely gold, to get somebody to listen at a time when they wouldn't normally listen to. For instance, if they told you that they liked Britney Spears, you can send out an alert telling them that Britney Spears will be in your studio at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can get them to listen at a time they wouldn't normally listen. That increases time spent listening. But also, radio now has the chance to add mobile calls to actions in its spots, thereby getting advertisers to make their spots interactive. And a great example of that is a car dealer getting people to come to a car lot with a simple $99 car promotion where somebody could buy a car for $99. And by doing that, hundreds of people came to participate in the contest, and they sold 38 cars on a Saturday morning when they hadn't sold a car in weeks and weeks, and this was a campaign that cost less than $1,000. Now, also, as I've already mentioned a bit, mobile and television have become intertwined. It's really become a two-screen experience. Users are using their mobile device to enhance their viewing experience. I know that I do. I in many cases now, I'm on Twitter while I'm watching something. I'm following the conversation. I'm participating in the conversation, and that's become, as I mentioned, quite common. Also, a TV spot can have a call to action that can physically get people to go into stores. It can create a symbiotic relationship with the brand and build loyalty, and give the opportunity for mobile users to get even more valuable information than they could in a self-contained TV spot. Also, we're seeing print having to evolve in big ways. Some print publishers are more progressive than others, and New York Times is in that category. What they're doing is they're bringing interest to an old model by making the experience interactive, more current, and bringing even rich media content. So you can go behind the scenes. And so I'm a former reporter, newspaper reporter, and it used to be where, once a day you would need to produce the news. Now there's a 24-hour news cycle. And these print publishers need to play in that field as well. So they are constantly looking at providing relevant information, and that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. What is important to me may not be important to you. So folks like ESPN are creating relevant experiences, asking you to make some selections on who your favorite teams are, and the same thing is happening in print. Also, mobile and online are complementing each other. We're seeing social media. There used to be silos, but things like Twitter and Facebook are seeing more activity on mobile devices than we are seeing on desktops. And really that has to do with lifestyle decisions and people not wanting to forego their interests, say, in connecting with their friends and family just because they turned off their phones. And then mobile also, we'll get into, has some key attributes that help other efforts like search engine optimization, paid search, web analytics, and conversion optimization. We'll talk about the differences in search on a mobile device versus online. They're just a sneak preview. Most mobile searches are local in nature, and actions take place in a much shorter time frame, which has a lot of ramifications for our businesses. Also, mobile and SEO, different keywords. Also, click to call is becoming more important. There are some things that are perceived as unsexy, like a phone call, but we're seeing companies like Marchex and others really making it effective, not only to get people to click on a link to fire up a phone call immediately, but also the attribution and the tracking is becoming very important for us to say, okay, so what caused that particular action? And thereby we can double down, spend more money, and justify the places where we're expending efforts and dollars. Also, paid search, the list of keywords often are different on mobile than they are online. As I suggested, there's a different mentality when you're on your mobile device and you're out there. A lot more location focused keywords, and places like Google's keyword tool helps us identify the most common keyword searches. And we're seeing Google and others really make websites and apps mobile friendly, and if they're not, they are losing ground when it comes to search results. Also, mobile and web analytics, obviously important in both places. They're very similar, but in mobile we're able to analyze things like device type, operating systems, and we can take that into account when we're creating campaigns if we know that most of our users are, say, on iOS devices or Apple devices versus Android or Google devices. Also, converting on mobile employs the same concepts as PC. We'll talk about how we do that, and conversion being the end goal in both cases. I already mentioned mobile and social. We also want to take into account the importance of getting people to share content, and we're seeing the advent of user-generated content and the importance of identifying influencers and influencing those influencers. So who's on mobile as we get close to wrapping up this introductory session, and then we'll quickly get into the specifics as we move on in the course. Well, as you know, mobile is everywhere and nearly everyone is using it. The penetration of smartphones has increased, and this number changes all the time. Suffice it to say, in the more developed countries, well over 50%, sometimes even 70% or more. And in some of the developing countries, we're even seeing more mobile adoption. It first happened on feature phones or less sophisticated phones, and is now there are even smartphones that are so affordable that they're being put in the hands of those who you wouldn't think could have afforded it in years past. What are people doing on mobile devices? Well, just think of what you do on your phone and what your friends and family do. We're texting, we're sharing pictures, we're browsing the web, we're scanning codes, we're clicking on ads, and we're doing things more and more in augmented reality, and such phenomenons as Pokemon Go have now entered our lives, where what we're doing is we're taking the imaginary world and bringing it to the mobile device and fascinating people. How young are people when they're using mobile devices? Well, just go into any restaurant or look on any plane or any airport. The very young are using mobile devices. I know my nieces at one point were sending text messages at a rate you couldn't believe. The statistics showed over 3,000 text messages a month. And many young users, this isn't even in jest, don't even know that you can make a voice phone call. They use their mobile devices in entirely different ways than you or I might. How old? We're seeing more adoption from users in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. I have an 87-year-old mother-in-law who is very active on both an iPad and a tablet, or an iPhone and a tablet, her iPad. She is playing games, she's sharing photos, she's playing Angry Birds, she's streaming music, all sorts of things. And why does she, among other older people, do that? Well, mobile devices have become more intuitive. It's easy to stay in contact with loved ones. My mother-in-law and my wife live 1,500 miles from each other, but they're able to stay in more contact than ever before. And the costs, as I mentioned, of these devices, and the data and the price of making phone calls has dramatically gone down. So what are they finding? Their users are accessing all sorts of types of information, and you can instantly get answers to questions. You can get information that becomes more personalized. And all aspects of these phones are becoming personalized, how they ring, the apps that you have on there, etc. Now, I started out by talking about mobile users' expectations. Now, we've come to the point, and not just those of us who are in the industry, are expecting brands to perform on mobile devices. These are things like having fast loading web pages, having content that's current, having content that renders properly on one specific mobile device. And we're seeing these rewards and punishments. We're seeing consumers rewarding those brands that are providing great experiences, and conversely, they are not only abandoning, but in a lot of cases, they're telling their friends, they're broadcasting it out on social networks, and it's really become a problem for brands. Probably self-inflicted, because by these days, what you really need to do is to meet and exceed those expectations. And then users are expecting responses on 24/7, which has impacts on customer service, impacts how we react on social networks. There's now an expectation if somebody complains about something that happens on a flight or in a restaurant, they're expecting responses in no time. So how do you stay abreast of these ever-changing technologies? Well, you really have to, and I would encourage you, even if you are looking at mobile stats that are 6 months old, you need to be even more current than that. Looking at the evolution from feature phones to smartphones to tablets to a word that I hate and predicted would not catch on, but the word phablet, which is a combination phone and tablet. We'll get into different device types in just a bit. But these are tweeners. It's kind of the combination of the best of a phone versus the larger size and best of a tablet. But you also don't want to get ahead of the technology. I've seen some marketers get into trouble because they fall in love with something that's shiny and it really doesn't have the legs to succeed in the long term, and even in the short term, it takes a long time to get adoption. So when it comes to mobile marketing measurement, we're going to talk a lot about the things that we could measure. Some examples: engagement, opt-ins, clicks, downloads, the number of scans, the number of page views, and ultimately the last mile or sales. But mobile measurement isn't nearly as accurate as web measurement, although we're getting better. But I would argue that a lot of reasons why dollars aren't following the time spent in mobile has to do with attribution and measurement. So there are feverish attempts for us to get better at that. So as we wrap it up and get ready to launch into the more specific individual sections, let me give you a few key takeaways. First one, mobile marketing is really no longer a nice to have. And this isn't spoken by somebody who makes his money by being in the mobile world. This really is being driven by mobile users and their expectations. The adoption of mobile activities is accelerating, and likely so should your mobile initiatives. How much should you spend on mobile really has to do with consumer insights, understanding what your customers do, where they are, and what they're interested in. And then, as I just mentioned, be careful not to chase shiny objects. Many products and services will see limited use or will fade away despite catching on with the so-called influencers at places like South by Southwest. So that's it. I appreciate you listening to this introduction. I'm excited to get into more detail with you, and thanks for listening.
Hey, want to become an expert in digital marketing? Then subscribe to the Simplilearn channel and click here to watch more such videos. To nerd up and get certified in digital marketing, click here.